All right, Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm stoked to speak with you today. We've known each other for a couple years within the EOS Implementer community, and so I want to dive deep into your career path towards becoming an implementer, where you're at today. But I really want to start, Amanda. Where are you right now in the world?
So I am in beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii.
Wow, and you just moved there like last year, right?
Yeah, it's actually been 1 full year. So this week we're celebrating our 1 year anniversary of moving here full time.
Incredible, incredible.
hmm
And you were in California previously, right?
I was. Yeah, I can go all the way back to the beginning and tell you the story if you want. But yeah, we lived in Southern California for 17 years. My husband and I moved there with everything packed in the back of our Honda Civic, a 6-month-old baby, started a business, and we built everything that we have today in Orange County. And actually, on our very first date, we celebrated our 20-year wedding anniversary on August 20th this year. And on our first date, way back in the day, we walked around a park and we talked about everything under the sun. And one of those things was where we'd want to live eventually. I grew up in a small town in Canada, and I wanted the heck out of there. And so we said that we wanted to live in Costa Rica, Australia, or Hawaii. And here we are 20 years later, and we're living full time in Hawaii, raising our 5 beautiful children, running businesses, living our EOS life. So it's been a long time in the making.
Oh, well, what an incredible journey. And I have so many questions. But starting on, those first three places that you listed, Costa Rica, Hawaii, and I forgot the third. Why
Australia.
were those Australia? Why were those places appealing to you guys?
Well, so my husband's a surfer. He just popped in here and said hi to you before we started recording, and he's off to go surfing. And so Costa Rica has, I mean, all three of those places have great surf. So I think selfishly that was my husband's ulterior motive. But Australia, I was born and raised in Canada, so Australia is part of the Commonwealth. So I think we thought like that would be an easy place for us to transition to. Great weather, great people. We could get visas easily. We had both had an affinity for Costa Rica. And fun fact, we did live there for a little bit. We were beach bums. We lived on the beach. You would have never recognized me. But after we got married, we were newlyweds, and we lived on the beach in Costa Rica for a handful of months. So we tried our hand at that. Beautiful people, beautiful lifestyle, the pura vida lifestyle. But
Mm.
we just thinking about raising kids and having a family, we decided that Southern California was a good spot for us, and then transitioned to Hawaii. And so we still haven't made it to Australia, but we're going to get there. I want to go to we have a great implementer community in Australia. And so I want to go to a gathering over there one day. So we'll get there.
Y- yes. I want to go too. So you let me know. We can
Okay,
get a group of
let's
us to go over
coordinate.
there.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I want to rewind back to the beginning, Amanda. You were raised in Canada. I'm from South Dakota, so I totally sympathize with the cold that you bared growing up. But you grew up. Your parents were immigrants that moved to
Mhm.
Canada. So talk about what that was like growing up in Canada with parents as immigrants, and how that led you to an entrepreneurial career.
Sure. Yeah. So, well, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so it's a little different than the South Dakota weather. It's still Canada's Canada, and it's funny. Like when
Yeah.
I moved for a long time, I had relatives being like, "Don't you miss home? When are you moving back? Like, when don't you miss it here?" And I'm like, "Do you miss seasonal depression? Because I don't." Like, I'm a sunshine girl, so yeah, it's not. I mean, Canada's a beautiful place, especially where I grew up. I grew up in British Columbia, and the tagline is supernatural British Columbia. It really is. It's a
Mm,
really unique, beautiful place, and just gorgeous. But too much
yes.
rain, too much darkness, it's just not, that's not for me. But um, so yeah, rewinding back, so actually my grandparents were all political refugees. So
Wow.
from South Russia, so now it's Ukraine, but it was USSR at the time. And so they escaped religious and political persecution way back in the day. And my great grandfathers were taken as prisoner of war, sent to Siberia, sent to camps. And the women and children fled through a really great organization called MCC. It's the Mennonite Central Committee. And so both sides of my family went through that process and that journey, and ended up in Paraguay in South America. And so that's where both of
Wow.
my parents were born. And then both of their families eventually immigrated to Canada for a better life. And so that's where I was born and raised. And so, yeah, it's really interesting that journey. It's just, I think it's in the resilience, the tenacity, the striving, or will to live, willpower. It's in me.
Yes.
So it's in my
Mhm.
DNA, and that's that's part of my journey and my upbringing. But I didn't have really like an entrepreneurial upbringing, right? Like I have some uncles who they have like home building businesses, they're contractors. I have some family members who have started businesses, but really not, I don't come from a typical entrepreneurial family. I didn't really have that modeled for me. We were just really trying to make ends meet, trying to survive. And really, I think coming from where I come from, there was sort of this mentality of just be thankful for what you have, right? Like it could be
Yes.
so much worse. Just be grateful. And so, yeah, my parents worked blue collar jobs, and I was raised like in a typical like immigrant household. I was bit by the entrepreneurial bug when I married my husband. I swear he came out of the womb with a business plan. Neither of us come from entrepreneurial families, but he's like, there's no doubt he can't not, and so he and I have been living an entrepreneurial life for the last 2 decades. So like I said, we moved
Mm.
down to the States, and started our business, and we just built everything on our own backs, and we really just build. And so that's that we're great partners in business and life and parenting and love and everything. And so we've just done it all together and built it all on our own backs. And so yeah, right now we own 3 businesses. We have our own nonprofit. We have 5 kids. We split our time between Southern California and Hawaii. Family lives here full time. And I kind of, we spent 17 years in Southern California, and we expanded our business to Oahu, Hawaii in 2022. So that's what really was the bridge that got us over here. And so since then, we've been sort of splitting our time, and we just, wherever our kids go to school is where we spend the majority of our time. So we made the move full time over here about a year ago. The consequences of our actions, as a business coach, most of my clients right now are in Southern California. So I travel for work, but I'm picking up clients here in the Hawaiian Islands. I'm the only female EOS implementer in the state of Hawaii, and I'm so grateful to work with the clients here that I do. And so, yeah, it's just, I'm living my EOS life where we built it from scratch. And so we're still so grateful. So, those values that my family instilled in me for being grateful and humble they're still there. They're alive and kicking.
Yes. Wow. What a journey. And
Yeah.
Amanda, within the EOS community, obviously we talk about the EOS life a lot. And
Hmm.
you and your husband and your family are absolutely living it. And it's so cool to see you walk the talk, living where you want to live, working with the people that you actually want to work with. I mean, that had to be scary and kind of a big risk for you as you just pick up and move to Hawaii. And so talk about that move. I mean, kind of starting over from scratch, but at least you still had your same clients in California. I mean, what was it starting over in a whole new place?
Yeah, it wasn't scary. I wouldn't use that word to describe the experience. For
Mm.
us, we're the kind of people we really trust our gut, our intuition. We know what the next right step is. We don't have to see the whole staircase, like to know to take the next step. And so that's just what we've always done. That's kind of our MO. And there's no difference in this move. And so for us, it was just kind of like, okay, like, what's the next step, what is the next right thing, and do that thing, and it will lead you to where you are meant to be. And so that's what we did. But yeah, it's been a really interesting thing, like really, Hawaii in particular, it's different. I know it's America, it's not mainland America, right? It has its own culture, its own people, the land, the just the essence of this place. It's very different. It's sacred. It's beautiful. And I think for us, the transition was a little bit easier than maybe if somebody were to just decide and pick up and move and start from scratch. Like we expanded our business here, and then we sort of made a slower transition, like over the course of a handful of years. And
Sure.
for, so for your listeners who don't know, I own a business called Soccer Shots. It's a children's soccer program for 2 to 8-year-olds. We teach soccer classes. They're non-competitive soccer skills and character development. It's a program for children who are mainly 2 to 5-year-olds, so like preschool age. And we run out of preschools, daycares, childcare centers, and also public locations. And so I think for us, expanding that business here and pouring into the community and investing in families and Ohana and Keiki, right? We came and we extended ourselves and we showed people like we're show up kind of people, and we were giving back and investing in the community. And so I think that goes a long way here, really anywhere, but here in particular. And so I think for us, that was a really great way to sort of earn trust and transition into this community. And so, yeah, that's how we did it. And then when the time was right, we decided, to make the change and transition over here full time. And it's just, like I said, it's our 1-year anniversary next week. And it's just been a really great decision for our family as a whole. It's just a really wonderful place to raise children and just live life, live your EOS life. And you're right. I'm
Yes.
living it to the fullest. Like, for those of your listeners who don't know, the EOS life is doing what you love with people you love, making a huge impact, being compensated appropriately with time for other passions. And that's what we
Mhm.
do every day. My goal is to live a 5 out of 5 EOS life. And I think that the key to that is intentionality. And so
Mhm.
people always ask me, like, how do you do it all? And my answer is EOS. I've EOS'd my life. And so it's about being intentional.
Yes, yes. Well, that's what's so cool about EOS, and I know you have, and for me as well. Implementing that into our families' lives and our personal lives, and sometimes people think like you're crazy. You're running an L10 meeting with your significant other, and I'm like, yeah, I am, because we need to
Right.
be on the same page. We need to have our schedules organized. We need to be aligned with the vision. And to your point, being
Mhm.
intentional allows you to build the life of your dreams, to build the life that you actually want. And if you're not
That's right.
intentional, your life is just going to happen, and it's not going to end up with that dream that you set out for. So I
Yep.
just love that concept.
Yeah, there's an expert EOS implementer named Scott Rusnak. He's a Canadian, another knucklehead like me. And he says, if you don't design your life, someone will design it for you. And so you need to be the
Mm,
architect of your life. And I believe that things are happening for us, not to us, but you have to be able to see big, like zoom out and see big picture and get really clear on your priorities, get clear on what you want. And, there's this other saying, if you don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere else. And so
mm,
Brene Brown says clear is kind. And so it's not like, this is not all just like EOS stuff, right? Like this
right.
is real world practical stuff. These are things, tools we always tell our prospects and our clients, people we talk to, like, these have been around 100 years. They're going to be around for 1,000 more. So it's like, why wouldn't you use this stuff across the board to get more of what you want, run a better business, live a better life, right? So yeah, that's what I totally believe in it through and through.
Yes, yes, incredible. And Scott Rusnak is an OG. He is like the pinnacle of what we do as implementers, and I believe he's a surfer as well. So I imagine him and your husband get along.
Yep, that's right.
Awesome. So, Amanda, you talked about Soccer Shots and your guys' franchise. I mean, how did you get into that? Are you a former athlete? Is your husband a former soccer player? I mean, how did that all start?
Yeah, so my husband actually, he is a former athlete and soccer player. I did play soccer. I played in high school, but it was mostly for, the trips and hanging out with my friends. It was more of a social thing. I was never very good. I'm not like a team sports athlete per se. I'm very athletic, but I'm not very competitive. Like, I've done all those assessments, right? Like know thyself to lead thyself. And so for me, harmony is a big one at the top of the list. And so I'm not a very fun person to like play Monopoly with, for instance, because I'm like, I just want everybody to leave as friends. Like, let's just, I'll let you win. But then when I'm at the gym, like lifting weights, when it's me versus me, like forget about it. I'm super
Mm,
competitive. So,
mhm.
but So I was never really like a big team sports girl, but my husband was. He played, at a college level, and he grew up in South America. So you got to have him on sometime. He has a whole story of his own, and he's
Yeah.
writing a book. But his parents, his dad's Canadian, his mom's American, and they met in the jungle in Peru in the 70s, fell in love, got married, raised their kids there. And so my husband grew up in South America, in Peru, in the middle of the jungle. And soccer is everything especially in South American countries, right? And so he grew up soccer
Hmm.
is just life. So all that being said, when we were newlyweds, we had only been married for a handful of years, and actually I was pregnant with our first child, and we were kind of at a crossroads in our life. We were living in Canada. We met and got married in Canada, and my husband found out he had a blood disease. So he never knew this. The blood disease he has is called Raynaud's. It's a circulatory disease where your body tries to preserve its core, so it stops pumping blood to your extremities. And he didn't know he had this. It's induced by cold weather and stress, which he didn't experience either growing up. And then he was working in northern Canada on the oil fields, and this came on. So we were sort of faced with a decision. He had to either get a job indoors, which he's not like a cubicle kind of guy, right? And so it was either get an indoor job or move to a warmer climate. And so we were visiting his folks in North Carolina for Christmas, and a childhood friend of his was there. And we told him about, what we were trying to figure out. And he's like, well, you know what? My two buddies that I played semi-professional soccer with are doing this thing. And, they don't make enough money playing semi-professional soccer. And so they're training little kids. And they're thinking about franchising it. Like, do you guys want to try doing this? Move down to California and go halfsies with me. And so we started a bit. That's how it all started. And we got in really early on. So for us, that was a really cool thing to experience. Like, Soccer Shots is a 20-year-old franchise. We've been in it for just about as long. And we've been a big part of franchise development of, implement, like what you get now is not what we got. we bought our Soccer Shots like it was a handshake deal. And it was, there was very little training or prep or anything that came along with it. And so that was fun for us as entrepreneurs. And, we were able to sort of like build it to be what it is today. And actually, we're currently exiting our Soccer Shots businesses right now. And so, so it's all coming full circle. And it's been a beautiful experience. It's been life-changing for us.
Amazing, Amanda. Amazing. And actually, I have a similar story. I co-founded a sports recruitment agency focused on international American football, actually, and growing the sport worldwide and placing American players in international teams. And that's how I was introduced to EOS, was through grinding through the business, through struggling like a typical entrepreneur does. And a friend recommended reading Traction, and it just forever changed the course of that business and every business I was a part of after.
Wow.
So I'm really curious, Amanda, how did you learn about EOS?
Yeah, same. So very similar as you. So when we were early on, I want to say, oh gosh, this was at least a decade ago, maybe almost 15 years ago now. We were in a mastermind for the top 10 franchises in the Soccer Shots community, which that's not saying a lot. At that time, it was like we were making peanuts, but we were at the top of the pack. And so we got to be in this mastermind, and there was someone from someone from Soccer Shots franchising. I affectionately called him the mole. He was kind of like the go-between. I don't know what his official title is or was, but he was like the go-between between franchisee and franchisor. And so he just kind of like mediated that relationship, because that can be tricky sometimes. His name's Tim O'Neill, and he's actually an EOS implementer now. He's based out of Ohio, and very dear friend of mine. He's seen my husband and I through a lot. And he was leading that mastermind group, and he actually gave us Traction as part of of that group, that cohort. And that was the book that we read. That was like the book of the month. And so I have to thank Tim for all of this. He gave me that book, and he actually gave my husband that book. My husband was like, we need to read this. And so we read it, and I always joke with my clients, we're repentant, reformed self-implementers, because at that time, we thought you read Traction and you do Traction. And so that's what we did. We read Traction, we did traction. And
Mm,
my husband jokes like we crammed, because on average, you and I work with our clients for about 2 years, sometimes more,
mm,
sometimes less, but it's on average about 2 years. So we crammed
yes.
2 years of learning into 5 years. It really took us about 5 years to like really like slog through this and get the tools and disciplines implemented in our business. But yeah, we like, it just was such a game changer right from the jump. Even just doing like implementing the foundational tools that we did in the way that we did. Looking back, I'm like, man, we didn't do a great job, but it worked. Like even what we did, even what we did worked. So just so
Mhm.
thankful for that, for all of that coming together.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't it fun to think back on those days and you think you're running it to a T, you're crushing it with traction, and then once you eventually got licensed and started working with other teams, you're like, wow, I was really half-assing that self-implementation. Like I don't even know how we were successful. Because
Totally.
that's how it was
We
for
didn't know.
me.
We didn't know. Absolutely. It's really interesting. I always talk about being behind the orange curtain, right? Like, so
Mhm.
that's what it feels like when I went to boot camp. We go to this thing called boot camp in 2022, and it was the formal training to become an EOS implementer when I decided to jump in with both feet. And it's like, oh man, your eyes are just like you have these shades that are lifted, right? And you're just like, I can see the light, but I didn't know what I didn't know. But even still, like just implementing what we did just was such a game changer for us. So I guess that would be my encouragement to anybody who's listening. Is like, you know just do something, right? Progress over perfection. Like just do
Yes.
something, and I promise you it'll change everything.
Yes, yes. I couldn't agree more, Amanda. And it goes back to the quote of if nothing changes, nothing changes. And
That's right.
so what we do at EOS, it's not rocket science, but if you can start to get in this rhythm of doing the small things right on a consistent basis, well, then those big outcomes that you desire, they're going to start to come your way a lot more easily when you're doing the small fundamentals right. I come from the
Totally.
football world, the blocking and tackling. Are we
Yep.
blocking and tackling well? Well, if we are, we're going to score a lot of touchdowns and we're going to hold the offense from scoring. Let's just do the
Yep.
fundamentals right and let the rest take care of itself. So
Totally.
I love your analogy there. And
Cool.
getting back to your relationship with your husband, it can't be easy starting a business with your significant other. I mean, even me with my girlfriend, if we're around each other too much, I'm like, hey, I need a little bit of space here, my love. And so
Yeah.
talk about the challenges and the opportunities of running a business with your husband.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's worth it. So I
Mm,
think, so it's interesting. We have a really interesting dynamic. We are opposites. My husband and I are opposites in every way. And I really do
mm,
believe opposites attract. And there's something about that yin and yang, right? And so,
yes.
um, yeah, it's really, we take every test, and it's funny, like, never surprises me. He's an ENFP. I'm an ISTJ. He's a connector. I'm a nurturer. Like, we'll take the test, and we're always on opposite ends of the spectrum. But I think that that's actually been the key to our success, because we bring
Mm,
different perspectives to the table, right? And we can see it in that way.
yes.
And we've gotten really good. First of all, we're very emotionally intelligent. There's definitely room to grow, but we've done the work. We are really invested in know thyself to lead thyself. We really invest in ourselves, in our emotional intelligence. And I think that hasn't just it helps us just as humans, right? Like individually, but also as partners in love and life and parenting and everything across the board. So that really helps. But then also the fact that we are so different, we value that, and we bring different perspectives to the table. And I think that really helps us. So that yin and yang, the feminine masculine balance, it just has really served us well. And also
Mm,
we're able, not a lot of people can do this. And I recognize that, like, in another phase of life, I was a stay-at-home homeschool mom. And he was
mm,
out there hustling and grinding and like hitting the pavement, building our business, landing schools. And then we flipped the tables, and I went to boot camp, and I became a professional EOS implementer, and then I built this business, and now he's the primary parent, right? Like, and so we've shifted roles like in different areas of our lives, and we're able to do that. And I think that the key there is clarity. We're always clear about what those roles look like? What are the roles, right? Like within that function, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so not every couple, I recognize not every couple is able to do that, but we are. And so I'm really thankful for that. Um, yeah. And so we just we're always kind of shape shifting a little bit, but also bringing all of what we bring fully ourselves to the table. And I think that serves us well.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. And it sounds like you guys are the perfect visionary integrator relationship with that yin and the yang. And I'm curious, who was the visionary and who was the integrator?
We're both visionaries, Will. So I have to say, we both have wonderful executive assistants. so,
Mm,
um, so yeah, I remember back in the day, actually, so there's this great test. There's this EOS test called the crystallizer assessment, right? So that shows
mhm,
you if you're more visionary or integrator-esque. Back in the day,
mhm.
it was different. So they've switched it. And I remember when we first learned about EOS and traction, then my husband's a 10 quick start. He's the visionaryest of all
Wow.
visionaries, like off the charts, like 98% visionary, right? And so I remember
Hmm.
him, he's like, this was over a decade ago, maybe probably almost 15 years ago. And he's like, babe, I need you to take this test. Like he thought first, like, I'm the visionary, she's going to be the integrator, this is going to be perfect. And so I remember I took the test and I wasn't, it, it really was like inconclusive. Like I wasn't a visionary and I wasn't an integrator. Like I didn't score high on either. And he was like,
Hmm.
crap. I think he was really disappointed. Like he was like, shoot. And then he found an incredible integrator. And she kind of like, so she was kind of like the third leg to our stool. So
Mm,
he and I sat in the owner's box. So for your listeners who aren't aware, there's the accountability chart, there's the visionary and the integrator. They're the dynamic duo, right? Kind of like Walt and Roy Disney. So he found his Roy, Nancy, and she was great. And I kind of sat in the owner's box and then eventually became an implementer. And so then I actually was the implementer for our soccer shots business. And so
mm.
Jobin and Nancy were the visionary integrator and I was their implementer. And so yeah, I don't know, like it sounds like yin and yang, visionary integrator. That would be great, but I'm really not like a great integrator. But I'm a great implementer, right? So it's just that's the
Yes.
cool thing about life and doing this work is like we've been on this path of discovery and it's led us here. So it all worked out.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like it. And it's so interesting what you talked about in, kind of just flowing with life and flowing with each different enterprise that you're a part of. Because I am a visionary through and through as well. But
Mhm.
when I stopped doing the football recruiting business back in 2020 due to the pandemic, I
Uh-huh.
joined RCM Construction as a vice president. And I became the integrator very, very quickly, although I have a visionary skill set, but
Mhm.
it worked tremendously because the visionary, like your husband, was visionary through and through, million ideas,
Right.
ADD, constantly chasing the big opportunities and managing those big relationships, but just didn't want to get in the weeds of the
Right.
operations. And so that's where I was able to come in and help streamline those things, streamline communications, streamline projects. And we were that dynamic duo, which inspired me to become an implementer and commit my life
Cool.
to this work, similarly to you. So yeah, it's interesting how yes, we have our God-given abilities and talents, but we can
Right.
actually shape shift those based on our role, as long as the roles are super clear.
Yes, and I think it's all about managing energy, right? So
Yes.
you probably like it's not that you can't I can do integrator stuff. I'm the mom, I'm manager. We have 5 kids. I manage our household, so I do a lot of that kind of like if you think about what the glue that holds everything together, I do that stuff. I can do it.
Yes.
But does it give you energy? Does it zap your
Mm,
energy? And then how do that's why my husband and I have done our like Myers Briggs because it's important to know like how you're wired. So like I am when I tell people I'm an introvert, it surprises them because I'm not shy. I'm not a wallflower. I'm a social butterfly, but I hit my limit of socializing, of extroverting, and then I need
yes.
to recharge my batteries and I know how I recharge my batteries. It's by myself, right? And so
Yes.
And so an extrovert doesn't, an extrovert feeds off of the energy of other people. And so they recharge their batteries with others. And so I think it's in the same, like along the same vein, maybe a visionary can do integrator stuff, but it's about managing that energy.
That is a piece of gold that you just said, Amanda, and actually brought clarity as to, well, there's a reason why I ended up leaving that organization to become an implementer, right?
Yeah.
It's because I didn't love my energy in that integrator role. My energy is best served being a visionary and helping a wide array of companies as their implementer. And so, yeah, that's really funny that you touched on that. And I want to segue that to your kids. And how has raising 5 kids made you a better coach, a better EOS implementer for your clients?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think, so like I said, in a past life, I was a stay-at-home homeschool mom, and that takes a lot of patience.
Mhm.
You and I, as EOS implementers, you're a teacher, facilitator, and coach. So you teach the EOS tools, you facilitate the wisdom in the room, and you coach people to become better than maybe they thought they could be. And so when I think back to that time, like that's what I was doing with my kids, right? Around the kitchen table. And they were, early elementary school years. But it's, not a lot different. I mean, a lot of these these teams that I work with, it's interesting. They're just big kids. We're all just big
Yeah, oh
kids. None
yeah.
of us really know what we're doing, right? So it's
Mhm.
like I'm teaching, facilitating, and coaching just like I was when I was homeschooling. And so I
Mm.
think like raising my kids has really set me up for success, like learning those fundamentals or like those basic principles of what we do through that experience with them. And it's just, yeah, now so next year I'm going to have 5 teenagers for 25 days. So you can start praying for me now. But
Wow.
that's where we're at. We decided we're just going to lean into it. So we're going to go like, for those 25 days, we're going to go like TP houses and just like eat junk food. We're just leaning in. But yeah, I think like I'm in a really interesting phase of life now where it's like I did all the training, right? And now I'm kind of doing the letting go, and like it's sort of similar with our clients. Like we have a proven process and eventually they graduate from that process. And so I'm sort of in that stage with my kids. And it's really interesting to see the parallels, right? But it
Mhm.
all, like, personally, professionally, it all ties together. And that's what I love about the work that we do. It's like it imitates life. It's just it all that's why it's the EOS life, because it's all like holistic and synergistic, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, totally. Well, and it's interesting you say that because, as we go in with potential clients that we'll work with, so much of our conversation is, yes, EOS is going to help impact your business, but even more
Mhm.
importantly, it's going to impact your life.
That's right.
As a result of us streamlining your processes and getting clear on a vision, getting your team aligned, those things are
Yep.
awesome and well, but most importantly, you're going to have more time with your family. You're going to have more
Yes.
time to do what you love. And that's really why the work that we do is super impactful. And that's the reason it's so easy for me to get up in the morning and go and work with clients and work to grow my practice, because we're making such a massive impact.
Absolutely. It's my life's most fulfilling and rewarding work. And like you said, you run level 10 meetings with your girlfriend. I actually just last week, I was talking to one of my clients, and she broke down and she was telling me how impactful EOS has been for her in her life. She has a 22-year-old autistic son, and she's using the issues list and level 10 meetings with him to get on the same page. And she said it's just been
Mm.
such a game changer for them and their relationship and just how they function and how life uh, how they move through life together now. And so it's just, yeah, it's this work. It has a ripple effect, and it's so impactful. And so how could it not be the most like rewarding and fulfilling thing that you ever do?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And in fact, Amanda, right after this podcast, I'm about to go on the longest bike ride I've ever ridden. If you're a cyclist, it's not that long, but I'm going 40 miles. And
Cool.
that is because that was my rock for the quarter and it's due on Thursday before our
Okay.
QCE. I got to get it done. So again, an application for life, setting those personal rocks to help us
Yep.
progress, not only in the business world, but also in our personal lives as well. So,
Great.
um,
Great.
Amanda, tell me why, on top of everything that we just talked about, why you love the work that we do so much. Why EOS? Maybe talk about some of the success stories you've had with your clients. I mean, just give me everything on your EOS life and the clients you work with.
Yeah. I think the reason why I love the work that we do is because of what I just said. It's so impactful, right? Like, and it reaches so far beyond like, I know it's a framework for your business, help you run a better business, live a better life. There are these tools and disciplines. Like it seems on the surface, it's like, I mean, there are lots of operating systems out there, right? Um, and it is simple, but it's like the ripple effect and the way that it sort of like impacts that all of it reaches its like little tentacles out and just like um reaches all the corners of your life. Like it's really cool. Like I said earlier, I run 3 businesses. I have a nonprofit, 5 kids, and we use EOS in all of those, for profit, nonprofit,
Mm,
family. And so to see things like our core values being lived and breathed, and just like how far reaching it is, literally to the ends of the earth. Like, we're digging wells in Africa, and I have a school with 300 children there in a remote conflict zone. And we have a prison ministry there, and just like these tools being used there, and being able to sort of like extend the EOS love out like into the world, making a huge dent in the universe, like we say. That
mm.
it's like, it's mind-blowing to me. I can't even really wrap my arms around it. But personally, like, I think seeing my children sort of become better versions of themselves earlier in life, for like being able to sort of like um quantum leap, or like like get to a place where it took me until I'm 43. I'll tell people my age. I have no problem
Mhm.
telling people that. But like, being like this, really all of this sort of just this is a midlife shift for me, right? Like, but for them, they're teenagers and they're using these tools and disciplines, and they're experiencing all of this so early in life. Like, it just really revs me up, because I'm like, how is this going to like supercharge their life, and where are they going to be when they're 43, right? Because of this work that we're
Mm.
doing, and the tools that we're using, and teaching them, that's just become a way of life. And so when I think about all of that, and just kind of like, I can't even really, like I said, wrap my mind around it. But it's just EOS. It's not just a book. It's not just a framework. It's not just a way that you run your business. It really impacts every area of your life if you let it. And so I sound like I'm, I'm like try to, I don't know, like I don't want to use the cult word, but it's like, it's really not a cult, I promise you. But it really is a way, like the EOS life is real, and I'm living proof of it. And so that, I think for me, like that's the most fulfilling thing, is just seeing it just as a whole.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how powerful for your children to see you and your husband living out your truest, most authentic lives possible. To
Right.
have the time to actually spend with them, to have the financial resources to support them in whatever they want to do in life, and to just be super aware and emotionally there at all times. Like 90% of children likely aren't getting that sort of care from
Yeah.
their parents. And your kids are going to be rock stars. And whatever they decide to do, and you're getting me excited about having kids someday. I don't have kids yet, but like Matthew McConaughey said, had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. The one thing I knew I wanted to be was a father, and that
Mhm.
is absolutely the case for me. And again, hearing you talk about your EOS life and you and your husband's relationship and what it's doing for those kids, like, it revs me up to start get going on that family planning, because I want that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I love that. And you'll get it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure of it. So
Mhm.
awesome. Segueing slightly, Miss Amanda. The name of the podcast is called the Willpower Podcast. So for you, what does willpower mean?
Well, so this is so interesting because you sent me some prep questions and I saw that.
Yes.
I saw this prompt and I right away my first reaction was, well, I want to know what that means to you. So
Mm.
I want to hear from you what willpower means to you, and then I'm going to tell you what it means to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that you turn the tables around as a great coach would do. um, I ask this question almost every episode and I've gotten incredible answers. And one of the best answers that I love, that was the reason I started it, was doing what is necessary to get to where you want to go. It's
Okay.
doing what is necessary to get to where you want to go. It's turning potential into success. That's
Yeah.
really what willpower is about. If you go from point A to point B, what's in the middle? It's the willpower to get you there. Because there's going to be
Right.
days when you wake up and you don't want to do it, when you're sick, when you're tired, but what's necessary to get to where I want to go?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's great. That's really similar to how I see it too, coming from where I come from political refugees, immigrants, like you do what it takes to get what you want, and not even what you want, get what you need, right? And so
Mm,
that takes grit, resiliency, tenacity, all that stuff, right? And so it's like, I think for me, something I think about a lot is progress over perfection, right? Like how can
mm.
1%, how can you get 1% better? Or how can we make 1% progress on this so that we're moving towards getting what we want, right? And sometimes, yeah, that takes like getting out of bed when you don't want to or whatever that is, but that's where that willpower comes from, right? Like that's where it
Mhm.
lives. It's that grit, tenacity, resilience. And so if you can muster that, even if it's just a little bit, then you can make progress, and it's all about progress over perfection. And then all of a sudden you're, you're living your dream.
Yeah, yes. Progress over perfection. I love that. And, as we teach our clients in some of our initial sessions, like, let's just get to 80%.
Yep.
We'll come back the next session, we'll come back, we'll get to the 100. And I find myself telling myself that all the time when I'm working
Mhm.
on a project or trying to do something, like, just get to 80%. Because it takes away all that head trash and that
Yeah.
banter as to just starting. But it's like, let's just get to
Yeah.
80% and we'll figure the rest out in time. But it's so
Right.
powerful to have that progression over perfection mentality, because so many people get stuck in paralysis analysis just from taking that
Yes.
initial leap.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. So awesome.
Cool.
Next question for you, Amanda, is what is one of your favorite quotes or mottos that you live by?
Yeah, I think, well, along those lines, this year, so I always choose a word for the year, and sort of like a mantra or something to repeat to myself to like really keep myself on track. And this past year, a message that I received that was really powerful for me that I've really held on to is to release the expectation of an outcome. And so
Mm,
going into lead with curiosity, that's something that we tell our clients. It's something that we do. But taking it a step further and releasing the expectation of an outcome. It could turn out differently than you expected, but it could be better than you ever dreamed or imagined. And so for me, really like really surrendering and releasing that, and not just saying it, but really truly doing that, has been
yes.
powerful for me.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
profound. And with some of the spiritual work I've done in the last couple of years, that's one of the things that all of these spiritual leaders talk about is letting go of the outcome. Because if you
Yep.
hold that outcome tight to your chest, if you're obsessed with the outcome, the energy is just going to push it further and further away from you. It's loving your life, it's loving where you're currently at, and loving the journey, and everything you desire is on its way. It,
That's right.
if you're doing the right things. But if you're obsessed with the outcome, if life isn't great without this thing you're desiring, it's not going to come.
Right. It's so true, and it's true across the board in every area of life. And it's really interesting, So I'll share a story with you and your listeners, and this is I wasn't planning on talking about this, but So I have 5 kids. So I had 4 kids in 5 years. And then when my youngest was 4, we adopted our oldest. So my
Mm,
son is adopted. He is 19 today. We adopted him in 2018 and he was 11 when we adopted him. And so we adopted out of birth order. It's a whole, there's a whole story behind it. But before I had my firstborn, so I had 4 kids in 5 years. And before I had my firstborn, I struggled with infertility. I suffered multiple miscarriages. And one of those miscarriages, I was 5 months along. And so it was
man.
brutal. It was devastating for me. And then fast forward, I have a handful of kids. We adopt our son, and through the adoption process, you get more and more information. So when we first found my son, we saw his little profile, and it said, favorite color, favorite sport. He was 10 years old, all this stuff. And I knew right away. It was like the first time I saw my husband. Like, it was like love at first sight. I knew that was my kid. It was like, there's no question. So we started the process, and you get more and more information. And once we got his dossier and we found out his birthday is the due date of that baby that I lost at 5 months. And so
Whoa.
that's right. Let that sink
That's
in for a second.
insane. Yeah.
It's
Wow.
crazy. And so I don't believe in coincidences. And I know that there's a plan, there's a reason, there's a, um, there's a path, and there's, everything is orchestrated for me and for my good. And I didn't see it. That took a decade to see that. Right. Like, and then, so no, that knowing, I don't think my son is like the reincarnation of that baby or whatever, but like, that moment was so profound and so significant for me, just knowing that, you might not see, it might be a decade before you see the reason. And this is true in your personal, professional life, whatever it is, in your, in business or whatever. Sometimes like things happen and we can't really like put it together or understand it or make sense of it. But I know, just based on my life experiences, that things become clear, or, you'll see the reason behind things. I mean, maybe you never will, but generally you see it. And it might take a year, it might take a decade, but you'll understand at some point. And so for me, like, that was a really powerful lesson. And it showed me that, it could be better than you ever dreamed or imagined. You just need to trust the process and let it play out.
Mm.
Right. And so releasing the expectation of an outcome, it's just so powerful if you really lean into that.
Yeah. I am dumbfounded by that story. I mean, how powerful. And to your point, there are no coincidences. I
Yeah.
believe that with my heart. And amazing, amazing story, and amazing that you're living that out right now in regards to letting go of outcomes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had to do that. I'm sure you've had to do that in business too. Of even with EOS and being implementers, like, we want 25 clients and we want to be making X amount of money, and it's like, I want it tomorrow. But
Right.
then God has a way of humbling us. And I love the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, and he talks about how God has a way of putting men through trials and tribulations prior to blessing them with success, or prior to blessing them with the ability to impact others. And it's like, it's
Right.
so true in that it's not our timing, it's God's timing.
Right.
And we don't receive things when we want it. We receive things when we're ready to receive it.
I believe that to be true. And it's funny, like in the work that we do, right? Like, we talk about issues, right? And issues can be
Hmm.
problems, obstacles, challenges, whatever's frustrating you, can also be opportunities and ideas. And so, just, I guess that's a really good reframe of looking at things in life that happen to you as happening for you, right? Because it's just an issue. So what if this
Yes.
issue that we think that we're perceiving as a problem is actually an opportunity? And so, and
Yes.
maybe it's just an opportunity for growth, but like, really, that's a great reframe. And it's not this like toxic positivity or whatever, but it's like, that's what happens. Like, it's like, go back, like, it all through history, like that is what happens. And so if we can reframe and use that, to our advantage to help us to push forward, and get more of what we want, like, why wouldn't you?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I love Sue Hawks. I listened to her keynote at our QCE at the annual
Mhm.
session, and she talks about issues as energy. And
Yeah.
if we can also frame issues in the sense of like these issues are, yes, they're weighing us down if we're just letting them sit on the issues list each and every week. But once we start
Yeah.
to identify, discuss, solve those issues, get them off the list, get them off of our backs, then we become lighter and we can move quicker and we can move faster to our actual goals. And so
That's right.
really our conversation is all encompassing and we always find a way back to EOS, which I love it. But both things resonate very deeply.
Yeah.
So really quick, we're probably going to go over here, but I have to ask you early on, Amanda, you talked about how you and your husband were really good at listening to your guts, really
Mhm.
following those gut feelings. And
Mhm.
that is a skill that I think most people don't actually have, where they
Mhm.
don't feel confident listening to their guts or their hearts. They're so in their heads, they play out all these different scenarios, and so it's really hard to follow what's on their heart. How have you and
Mhm.
your husband cultivated that ability?
Hmm. So one of my favorite tools in the EOS system is called a clarity break. And so taking time, and I'm a believer. So the gut for me, that's Holy Spirit. That's Holy Spirit talking to me, and I listen. And the only way that you can listen is if you shut up and you take
Mm,
time to do that, right? And so whether it's quiet time daily every morning, right when you wake up, if it's, carving out time on your calendar, and once a quarter taking a solo vacation, going and book an Airbnb for a night or two and really sequester yourself, however that looks like for you, or whatever rhythm you can create, I think it's really important to carve out that time and just be quiet and listen.
mm,
And so that's, for me, that's been critical. And I've been doing that way before EOS, but
yes.
just putting like a name to it and a framework around it, we call it a clarity break. And so that's really just taking time to be quiet and listen, and go. I always tell my clients, like, grab a legal pad and a pen, leave your phone, your devices, like in the car or at home, that's even better, and go sit under a tree and just brain dump, like listen and
Mm,
brain dump, and then just take the next right step.
yes, yes, amazing. Obviously clarity breaks, I preach them all the time as well. I spend a lot of time in prayer and meditation each morning, and that's been one of the most impactful practices I've ever had. And fortunately, being a part of the EOS community and them preaching to us clarity breaks, and then us preaching to our clients clarity breaks, like they are so important, and they are also typically the first thing that entrepreneurs just push to the side. Oh, I don't need that clarity break. We're crushing it, or I've got too much to do. I don't have time to just
Mm.
spend and sit and write or think. And so, to your point, in cultivating that relationship with God, with the Holy Spirit, with your intuition, silence is everything. And
Mhm.
I've talked about it before: be still and know that I am God. You can't
Right.
know God, you can't speak with God if you don't silence this crazy mind of ours that's overstimulated all day, every day. So, I really
Absolutely.
appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
Yes. Awesome. All right, Amanda. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. That was amazing. Where can people find you? Even if they want to work with you, yeah, where do they look?
Yeah, thank you, Will. So I'm all over the internet. So I'm I'm posting regularly all over the place, but you can email me at amanda.barkey@eosworldwide.com. You can find me amandabarkey.com. I have a website. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm all over the place. So yeah, please reach
Amazing.
out.
Amazing. Yes, yes. If you're in Cali or Hawaii, Amanda's the girl the gal to work with. So
Thank
um
you.
I appreciate you being on, Amanda, and I wish you the very best of luck here in the upcoming weeks. And are you gonna go surf with your husband now?
Oh, no, I don't surf. Actually, I don't know how to swim. So that's funny. That's
Oh.
wait, that's that's a whole other conversation. But I'm not a very good swimmer, but I love being I'm like paparazzi mom. So I like to go and like I'll get all the surf footage and I'll watch the stuff. That's where I like to be. But yeah, I'll go dip my toes in the ocean. And yeah, it's a beautiful day here in Hawaii. So I'm gonna go get outside.
Awesome. Well, enjoy it. I appreciate you.
So,
And to all the followers out there, if you found value in this podcast, if you enjoyed the conversation, please hit like, please hit subscribe. That's the only way I can continue to do this and grow the channel. So thank you so much. Until next time, peace.